Italian Football Podcast.
Right. Next question comes in from Daniel Ljungström. He says, if Milan was all about Leao and Inshallah in attack under Pioli, should Juventus defense be the equivalent to Di Gregorio and Inshallah under Tudor? Jokes aside, I think it's unbelievable that Juve seems to prioritize the attack again. Osimhen, Sancho, etc. I know it's still early days, but I think Juve should focus pretty much all their attention to fix the backline. In my book, the club needs two major upgrades there. You build winning teams from the back, yet again, the club seems to ignore the issue. And on a similar note, we have a question from Misak, who says, what we've learned from these games in the Club World Cup should have shaped the Juve Mercato and strategies, but the signs are they're going in the opposite direction, in my opinion. Signing Jonathan David, close to signing Jadon Sancho, getting Colomwani and Osimhen when they have Lord Kelly, Savona, and Rugani. Then again, when you look at the quality they have in the forward department, it is tragic. I know Carlo loves Chico Conceicao because he beats his man, but the kid has no IQ nor the ability to look for his teammates. The rest of the defense being in shambles is tactical or technical in your opinion. I point this out after Di Gregorio had to make a gazillion save in the last two matches in the Club World Cup. Now to the Rugani point, he can be a decent sixth choice centre-back, but Juve already has Gatti, who should be doing that, as he has shown not to be of the quality to start at Juve, playing a role as a reserve but not as a starter. Mediocrity breeds more mediocrity, as we've seen in the last half of a decade. Cheap salary, no complaints, was a decent against Real Madrid. Gatti and Kalulu are backup standard at Juve. Cabal, if back to normal, is a backup at left centre-back. So this team has like 7 defenders and 5 of them are backup quality at best. Some shouldn't even be backups. Looking at you, Lloyd. Juve should sell one of Gatti or Rugani. It will be Rugani. In my opinion, they also have to loan Savona. He's not going to be playing, shouldn't be playing at a potentially competitive Juve. This decision should be made by the end of the market when they've already made the moves. And now who are the ones part of the team? Then they've got 2 centre backs that are complete, both for the left and right side. Leone and Songo would be perfect to complement the idea of Tudor having 1v1s all over the pitch, meaning the quality of your defenders will be exposed to the purest level. I know it's a bit clearer, but I think it's fundamentally important to actually be competitive for God's sake for the first time in 5 years. Let's start with the Jadon Sancho thing and go through that because they kind of both touch on the same thing. What do you make of Jadon Sancho to Juve?
I don't understand it, to be honest, because look, Jadon Sancho is a wide player, and Juventus under Tudor, Tudor's system has been a 3-4-2-1 or a 3-5-2. That's what he used at Juventus. That's what he's used before. That's what the squad has been kind of, well, seems like that's what they're trying to construct it towards. So to sign Sancho's not going to be able to play in this system. So if you're signing Sancho, then what does that mean? Does that mean that someone needs to ask this question? Some of the Juventus journalists that go to press conferences need to ask this question. I'm sorry, it's pissing me off that nobody asked the most obvious question about Jadon Sancho. If you're signing Jadon Sancho, does that mean we're going back to a 4-3-3? We're going back to a winger system? No one has asked this question, and it's the most obvious question about this. So from that point of view, if they're bringing in Jadon Sancho and they're playing a 3-4-2-1, it's just absolute insanity. Like, what is the thinking behind it? You know, I'm ready to call this club just to give up on this club altogether. If they sign Jadon Sancho and stick with a 3-4-2-1, it's just absolutely insane. If they sign
Jadon, can play in the wide in a 3-4-3. I mean, he can.
Yeah, but I'm talking 3-4-2-1 here. You know, 3-4-2-1 is the system they play. 3-4-2-1 is the system they play. So I mean, it's insanity. If they signing Jadon Sancho because they're not going to sign Chico Conceicao either, absolute insanity. Has anybody watched Jadon Sancho since he left Borussia Dortmund the first time? What has he done? He's been flop after flop after flop. Bad attitude off the pitch. Awful. Slow. Doesn't really beat his man. I mean, he's a good close ball dribbler, but he doesn't really have when I say beat his man with pace. You know, he's good over like little short periods. I mean, I'm not saying there isn't a player there that could come out. There is. We saw it at Dortmund. There is quality there, but he's somebody that's done nothing over 4 years. He's got a high salary. Now, I have no problem with signing Sancho. I mean, I was kind of hoping that Juventus would sign him last year. I have no problem with signing Sancho if you're playing a winger system, if you need him. But if Juventus are going to sign Sancho and get rid of Chico Conceicao, yes, okay, maybe his final ball, his IQ, yeah, maybe that those are things that can be improved. But his raw qualities are absolutely fantastic. This is someone that beats players. I've seen him do it. We've seen him do it for Portugal in big matches just recently in June. This is a player with a very high ceiling, with the right coach and the right players around him. I think he can become something really special, Conceicao. To give up on him, like Juventus give up on players all the time, like they gave up on Sule, like they gave up on Huijsen, like they give up on players all the time. When they can sign Conceicao for 30 million with a lower salary, and then they sign Sancho instead for 25 million on a higher salary, it's insanity. I mean, maybe they'll buy both of them. I don't know, but I want to see. I want to see where he fits in, what system he fits in, and if signing Sancho means you don't sign a player that you need more desperately, which Misak talks about, i.e. sorting out this damn horrendous defence full of defenders that are just not up to standard. So, and Juventus need fullbacks. They need a right wing back. They need at least one, probably two centre backs. And they're going to go and spend 25 million on Sancho, somebody for 4 years has been showed us nothing for 4 years.
But Juventus have lots of holes and problems, and I think that what Giuntoli said last season is kind of what they have to start doing now, and that is they're going to have to build long term. They need a couple of windows to repair everything, and I think that's the key here. I think the thinking behind Jadon Sancho is that he's more of a system player, is more disciplined in terms of working in a system than Chico Conceicao, who is all flair but not very system-based and doesn't seem to function in a system. Or they just need options, and they want to be able to play a 3-4-3. They want to be able to play a 3-4-2-1. They want to be able to have options in wide areas, because Kenan Yildiz isn't exactly a wide area player either. So, I think it's one of those things. But at the same time, the defense is an issue. But I think that with that's why I keep hammering that it's weird to be in this situation. But given where we were at the end of last season, that Napoli and Milan, especially Napoli, are in a really good place, because they've got the most continuity, they've got the most to build from, whilst Inter and Juve especially are very, very up in the air and don't have a lot of money to spend as well. So it's an interesting one for sure. But I do think that I think Juve are basically thinking, let's get the attack sorted, the midfield is sorted. We sorted that last year. Now we need to then, maybe in January or wherever, if they can sell players and where they are, then do something about the defense. I think they're going to have to take it step by step like this. But yeah, it is a concern. It is a concern, and the fact that they can't seem to get their shit together is a problem.
They don't even have a sporting director. I mean, we're pushing towards the middle of July and don't even have a sporting director. What hope is there?
What's his name?
Don't have a sporting director.
Well, he is the sporting director.
No, they don't have a sporting director.
What's his name? Damien.
Come on, he's not the sporting director. He's overseeing. He's not the sporting director. He's doing more than one job. That's a recipe for failure. It's been proven time and time again in every club. Manchester United, Milan last season. You've got to have a dedicated sporting director to take charge of transfers. Juventus don't have one. You can't have somebody that's overseen everything. And they know that, Juventus. They're looking to appoint a sporting director. But they've left it too late. And now, as a result, the transfer market is all over the shop. It's a mess.
It is a mess. It is a mess. But to answer the other questions, I mean, they did kind of raise other issues about the defense. And the Lloyd Kelly thing, I will go to my grave and I will not understand that signing as long as I live. I don't. The amount of money paid for it, of all players, English players, to play for Juve, and for that kind of, I don't understand that. I will never understand that deal for as long as I live. I don't get it. I really.
No, I can share this now. I was told by someone who knows a number of coaches at Newcastle that when that transfer went through, they were laughing. The Newcastle coaches, these are like first team coaches, were laughing to somebody that I know, and I've seen the messages, by the way, were laughing about Jadon Sancho, about Lord Kelly, that that they sold him for like 23, 24 million. And these are coaches that coach him every single day. They were like laughing their head off. They were like, what the hell? Like, are Juventus absolutely insane? Like, we've just managed, we basically robbed them blind. Daylight robbery. Like that. They were pissing themselves. They were mocking Juventus and mocking like the fact that they paid all that money. But anybody could see that. It's one of those transfers where every single football fan could see it was just a joke. It was like Emerson Royale was another one. Anybody that had watched Tottenham for the last 2 or 3 years could tell you this was just a joke. And yet the club still went ahead and did it. And Lord Kelly, everybody could tell you this is just a ridiculous. This is just, what is this? Some kind of, is this some April? Is it April the 1st? You know,
I don't understand it. I don't understand
the money as well.
I want to. Yeah, well, that's the thing. I want to know who was behind this. Did someone propose him? Like, who did the scouting? Like, how did this come about?
Juventus were desperate for a centre back because they were gutted in defence. You know, because they'd had all those.
Well, I remember that, but for that money, Lloyd.
But then somehow it ended up being that they despite having 4 months to prepare for the 3 months, 4 months to prepare for the January market, because you know, Bremer got injured and Cabal had been injured like 3 months before end of the January window. So they had so long to prepare for it. Yeah, they just ended up in January having done nothing, seemingly, and then ended up panicking and spending, I don't know what the hell they were thinking. Insanity.
It's insane. I will go to my grave not understanding this, because it just makes no sense to me. Like, who proposed it? Who thought it was a good idea? Who did the scouting? Who looked at, like, do you know what I mean? Like, I need to, like, I don't understand how that came to be. Like, there's so many instances and levels that this had to have passed through for this to occur, and the fact that it did is just
it sums up.
I don't get it.
That is, I think, that the Lord Kelly, probably together with Dean Huijsen, because you can kind of combine the two together. It sums up the Juventus banter era of the last 5 years. That's what it does. It in a microcosm, that sums up everything about what shambles this once great club has become. Basically.
I mean, you look at Huijsen, you look at De Winter, you look at Hans Nicolosi Caviglia, you look at Sule, you look at Rovella, I mean, these are all Juventus players. They should all be at Juve. Like, seriously.
Yeah, you can go on and on.
I mean, it's like you had the solutions in-house, you got rid of all of them, even when they did well on loan. Like,
and the next one will be Conceicao. Will be the next one they regret. Watch him in 2 or 3 years' time if they get rid of him. You've got to be able to see the raw qualities in a player. If you know, Dan Ndoye is a good example. Like, he had no end product. He had no IQ a year ago, but you can see his raw qualities that he had, that with the right coach can be developed into a top player, and that's what he's becoming now. You know, Conceicao, you can't deny the raw qualities there. Yeah, they're undeniable.
The low center of gravity, the drop of the shoulder.
Okay, maybe he might not become that top player, and if he doesn't, I'm sure he'll become a player of some repute, and Juventus can just sell him and make money for him. So they're not going to lose out. If Juventus just to conclude, if Juventus replace Conceicao with Sancho, it's ridiculous. I mean, I hope Sancho's a success, and I think he has enough qualities there.
I was going to say, I like Jadon Sancho. I think he works.
If you're doing this logically, it's a stupid decision to make after 4 years of flopping. He's been a flop for 4 years, ever since he missed that penalty against Italy. Been a complete flop. One of the biggest flops in the history of Man United. He was average when he went back to Dortmund. He was awful at Chelsea last season. It's been flop after flop after flop. And you're going to replace Conceicao with him? I mean, it's a gamble that could work. I'm not saying it can't, but I'm just saying it's just something you just don't do.
It doesn't induce one with a lot of positivity and hope. That's for sure.